All right. Hopefully everybody enjoyed some good networking and some good snacks and beverages out there during the break. We have kind of a late addition to the program, but it is not insignificant. So we're really pleased to have General David Stringer here today. He is director of NASA Glenn's Research Center's Neil Armstrong Test Facility. It's a 6,400-acre remote test site 50 miles west of here. He was appointed to this position in 2007, and in this role, he synchronizes activities at the world-class installation to support critical research and development for NASA, the Department of Defense, and commercial industry to advance space exploration and global aeronautic leadership. Please welcome General Stringer.
Okay, thanks for the two-sentence intro, just as we planned it. Okay, so John Drexler said, "Oh, you're the guy who's responsible for a shortened break." Yes, I am. So if you want to, my usefulness here is in part to talk about Armstrong Test Facility, but it's also to let the folks reposition for lunch. So let's say you become bored at any point during this pitch. There's a folder with the slides out on the right-hand side where you checked in. Just go grab a folder. You'll be good. My business card's in there. We can talk later. So you are not obliged, morally or otherwise, to stick around. So that's Armstrong Test Facility, formerly known as Plumbrook Station. You may refer to it either way. And you will notice the little white thing up in the right-hand slide, part of the slide, is Cedar Point, the biggest roller coaster park in the world. So that often is an orientation point for those who've been around here. This was a high explosive plant in World War II, and it's doing path-breaking work today. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so why is this a cool place? Because it's got a lot of property. Now, let's say you were the NASA Inspector General. You might say there's too much property here. I will pass this as an analogy for you. If you build a child care center right in the approach path of a runway, within 6 months you will not be flying airplanes into that place. Why? Well, wait a minute, we were here first. Doesn't matter. Encroachment is encroachment is encroachment. So for explosives, noise, and protecting intellectual property, that distance, that land is very, very important. We have, as a legacy of the high explosives plant in World War II, a 100 megawatt power grid that we maintain. That means we pay half the residential power price, and it is engineered, thanks to our folks who planned and built this by the Army Corps of Engineers in 1941. It doesn't impinge on the civil grid when it operates, which means we can run on day shift, and if we turned everything on at the station, we'd pull 30 megawatts, which means we have a very high upside for high power demand experiments or high power generation. Next slide, please. So let's look about what we do. So NASA Electric Aircraft Test Bed, now called the Energy Advancement Test Bed. Why? Well, because Aviation Week gave us an Attaboy, a laureate award in March of 25 for the NEAT. And so we are trying to attract both space and air. So what is this, how does this really work? It turns out that if you increase voltage, you get to lower the mass of the lines that distributed around the vehicle. And so we have both an airplane and a spacecraft in there, because guess what? The technology works for both. And so being able to run this at 2 megawatts or higher is a big deal. Why? Because our demand for things aeronautic are insatiable. By the way, our demands for electricity and power in space are insatiable. If you raise the voltage, you can do great things. Next, please. Hypersonic Test Facility. NEAT operated and got its award in the Hypersonic Test Facility, and Defense gave us almost $32.5 million to recreate these effects in the facility shown previously, so they can have access to this, which they have begun to are in the opening stages of activation. Take about a couple years, run an integrated test. If that's positive, they'll proceed accordingly. If it isn't positive, I have yet another facility to find what to do with. But this is a big deal. Why? Because it's clean air, and what that means is by non-combusted air, it means we're not pelting water pellets at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit at a simulated altitude at Mach 5, Mach 6, Mach 7, using fixed nozzles to make this happen. But whether you're talking sensor development or propulsion testing or small hypersonic vehicle testing, it's there. Defense's motivation, there's an over 3-year backlog for hypersonic test programs in the facilities that they already have. So their hypothesis is it should be easier to activate an already engineered facility once operational than it would be to build it from new. So we'll find out. Next, please. Okay, another facility moved a half a mile into our plaza next to our in-space propulsion facility is the combined effects chamber. It's a 25-foot stainless steel sphere which is rated for 35 pounds per square inch on the pressure side and 10 to the minus 8 torr on the negative side, with a liquid hydrogen, with the assistance of a removable liquid hydrogen cold wall. Now, why would you care? 3 reasons. One is explosive decompression for aeronautic sensors that are cooled with cryogens. You cool sensors to make them more effective. If you put them on the back end of things like C-17s, C-130s, or C-12s, Beech King Airs, then it would be nice to make sure if you lose cabin pressurization that they don't rupture and put people at risk. So this can do that job. It can also, because of the way it's constructed, handle lunar soil simulant or soil simulant period, so-called regolith, because lunar dust is abrasive, corrosive, and hangs in the air up to 10 meters high during daylight. Wouldn't it be nice to make sure that we ruggedize our equipment before we have people on the lunar surface or the Martian surface staying there? By the way, hint, the pressure chamber in the combined effects chamber is about the same pressure as a Martian pressure. So it's a cheap and easy way to figure out whether high voltage works for you in lunar or Martian applications. So in the same way here, it's that. The other thing that nice little bottom does for you is that you could put methane or hydrogen to test liquid moons of the outer, or submersibles to go to liquid moons of the outer planets. Leak check them before you send them tens of millions of miles away to do their work. Next, please. In-space propulsion facility, a cool place. Why? Because you can, it's the biggest hydrogen-rated chamber in the United States, maybe the world, which is a big thing, and you can fire a rocket engine out of the bottom of it. The last time we did a liquid rocket engine with our steam and water system to make this work was the Delta III upper stage, a derivative of the Thor rocket in 1992. But if you'll see on the lower right-hand side of the chart, you've got the Morpheus Martian lander invented by young engineers at Johnson Space Center, and they tested it in 2017 and 18 at our place. So we're getting ready for an integrated systems test of the renovated water system with steam, and then we will advance because guess what? This is where the Blue Moon human lander system will be tested in the next couple years. You also see in the center of it, Crew Dragon in 2019 was tested there in thermal and vacuum, as was the Sierra Space Dream Chaser last year. Next, please. So a little cutaway diagram. So again, it's in the folder if you want it. It'll be on the conference website, I'm sure. But you see most of this facility is underground. That's great for noise. That's great for stability. Reinforced concrete, sunk into limestone, built in 1968 for $14 million. I think it would cost more today. What do you think? Next, please. Space Environments Complex. So if you get off the Ohio Turnpike, you can see this dome and you say, a nuclear reactor. Well, not quite. It was built to test a nuclear reactor in space conditions, but never used for that. So this is was built for $66 million in between 1966 and 1969. Again, cost a little bit more to build it today. So you see the experiments would enter on the left-hand side, get tested in the cold and vacuum space. We have another chart I'll describe, and then be taken apart in a 6 to 8 foot thick reinforced concrete disassembly area. Next, please. So in this cutaway, again, it'll make more sense in the chart. You can see thermal and vacuum. It's two chambers in one, and you're certainly welcome to arrange to come out to see this. It has an aluminum chamber that's 100 feet wide, 122 feet high, about 4 times bigger the volume of Chamber A, the next biggest chamber in Johnson Space Center. And that aluminum was because it would absorb so little radiation in a nuclear reactor experiment that an hour after you got the hot stuff out in the disassembly area to the right of that chart, you could be in shirt sleeves. So anyone here has ever worn fireman's gear or any isolation suit of any kind understands how debilitating it is to operate in that kind of confinement. Sweat is not your friend. Fogging your mask is not your friend. For anybody here who wore chem gear in the Cold War, you understand what I mean. So what can we do in this facility? Thermal and vacuum. Inside that same thermal vacuum chamber, we can also do things. We can bathe spacecraft almost perfectly resonantly, spacecraft or actually any test article, in a signal environment and a radio frequency signal of interest. And it can be multiple signals. Orion was the first one and the only one so far ever to be tested. That was because they were concerned about tracking radars going aloft from the Cape, perhaps interfering with their avionics. So it passed that test beautifully. You can instantly conceive of other applications. Space equals cyber, cyber equals space. Wouldn't it be a nice idea for us to ruggedize our equipment before we send it aloft? Then in the back chamber, we repurpose that to have a super stiff modal plate to find natural frequencies of objects. And so I say to less technically adept groups than you is, have you ever made a wine glass sing? Oh, that's a natural frequency. And so that's what that modal plate does. And then on the most powerful mechanical vibration facility in the planet, we can shake it at 5 to 150 hertz for a G this way, a G that way, and a G and a half this way. And what are we trying to do? Well, it does two things. One is it makes sure that the shake, rattle, and roll you can figure out. If you have tanked articles inside your test article, you can have them full, empty, or half full, so you get the slosh effect, because you would like to see it torn up while you still have the ability to fix it. So remember, this is save money test first, save lives test first, save time test first. Otherwise, you're in that position as I was when you cut classes of finding out that all the grade is on the final. But what if I have to study? Okay, so you can see that's why I have the position I now hold today. Then in the corner of this is the reverberant acoustic test facility. So everything, we learned the hard way in the 50s and 60s that everything that goes fast has shock waves. If you're really old like me, you remember driving your mom crazy by taking wing windows that were in the front of the car and setting them up for harmonics. Now in an SUV, you just have to lower the back windows and not lower another one, and you get the same harmonics that drive mom crazy. So this is a way, in a far more intense way, to take, using scale models in wind tunnels, we find out the force of gravity loads in flight regimes, and then we can test them against the full-scale article for about 20 minutes at frequencies of about 30, it varies, but roughly 30 hertz up to 250 hertz. And so this is a good deal for us because it allows us to make sure that they don't disintegrate and we keep astronauts safe. And so Crew Dragon was tested there also in 2019. Next, please. So here's the cool part. If you want to queue up for lunch ahead of this, you are free to do so. The folders are out there by registration. I can also answer any questions for you if you have them. Or we can say, Dave, shut up. We're going to lunch. I'll take it either way.
Any questions for General Stringer?
I'll be in the back so you guys can say, you know, Dave, that stunk. Thanks a lot, folks.